Hi, welcome to Chair Yoga. I'm Allison, and I'm so happy to have you here today. This is actually a brief orientation video. I want to walk you through some of the basics, and maybe you've never practiced before, maybe you've never practiced with me. I want to make sure that you're safe, and I want to make sure that you're really set up for success. We're going to talk about props. We're just going to talk through some of the basics before you get started. I'm going to have some beginner practices on my channel. I'm going to have some intermediate practices on my channel. I've been teaching chair yoga for about 5 or 6 years now. In fact, let me tell you a story. I was training for my yoga teacher training in about 2020, and then I decided to progress into the yoga therapy track, which is a 3-year program. And one of my first clients was my mom. She was 86 or 87 at the time. And she was very frustrated that she wasn't able to stand up from a chair without using her hands or struggling. So that was our goal, that was our focus. And after working with her weekly for a couple months, I'll never forget the day she was able to stand up from a chair without using her hands. Her hands were free and in the air. So yoga really gives that targeted approach to something that you're working on, whether it's body, mind, or spirit. And we've been working on all 3 areas of the human experience together ever since for the last 5 or 6 years. So fast forward in 2022 when I moved to New York City, and now I have an 87-year-old mother-in-law, and I begin working with her, and she introduces me to her network. So I've been doing chair yoga now with groups of people for about 5 or 6 years. And we have had so much fun, but also have had such an opportunity to discover things about the brain-body connection, about how our mind operates in our daily lives. So I just want you to know that I'm going to be caring for your body the same way I have cared for my own moms and their friends. You're going to be in a safe place. All right, let's get back to the orientation video. So let's just start with the question, why chair yoga? Why are we using a chair? Well, a chair really gives so many more people the opportunity to experience the beautiful benefits of yoga. As I mentioned before, yoga is not just a physical practice. It is a holistic practice of tuning into the body, tuning into those inner thoughts and how we're feeling from day to day. And what is it that's really driving those emotions? What is it that's really driving our entire health? So we'll get into that as we go along with each practice. But for the most part, you might not be comfortable. Some people may not be comfortable getting down on the ground. Some people may be recovering from an injury or from surgery like I have experienced. All of my physical therapy was very similar to what I practice in chair yoga. Or you might be in a wheelchair. And there is nothing in the Yoga Sutras, the foundational text of yoga that was scribed thousands of years ago. There's nothing in there that says yoga must be practiced on a mat on the ground. It simply addresses how the body works with reducing suffering from the mind. The whole goal of yoga is harnessing the fluctuations of the mind. And throughout all of the sutras, it really touches upon, as I mentioned, body, mind, and spirit, not just the body, as sometimes we've sort of come to know yoga in the Western world, I guess, if you will. So let's just start by talking about the chair. The first thing, of course, is we want to make sure that there's 4 legs. We want to make sure that you're safe, not 3 legs. We want to make sure that there's not wheels on the chair, like an office chair. If you're in a wheelchair, you've got brakes, so you can be perfectly safe with wheels on your chair because you can stabilize it. You want to ideally maybe not have arms on the chair. If you're in a wheelchair, you'll be able to perfectly adapt to the range of motion. You want to make sure that there's no furniture around you in whatever chair that you're sitting on. You want to have that full range around you. Let's see. You also want to make sure that your feet are flat and firmly planted. And maybe that means that you need to put a small platform or maybe a really thick book underneath your feet. If you're going to do that to adjust, maybe the chair is just a little bit higher than your legs, you want to make sure that you're not raising your feet up off the ground so that your knee is higher than your hip joint. So we're looking to be in this divine engineering of the body, this divine design here where we're sitting in perfect angles and ready to go. And speaking of which, another really important thing to remember throughout your practice with me is this is your neutral position. This is sort of your home. If you're ever experiencing some discomfort or we're working on a move that just does not work with your body, that's perfectly fine. You want to come back to this neutral position. You want to have your upper body upright. You want to be able to have your hands on your lap and in a relaxed position to continue to breathe. And then just continue watching and decide when it makes sense for you to join back into the practice, okay? So again, I'm going to be moving you through several different options, but if anything just doesn't quite feel right for your body, always know you can come back to this neutral position. This is neutral, all right? Okay, so let's talk about some other things. Oh, we want to have a back on the chair. We're going to be using the back sort of as a stabilizer for some poses, for some movements. And then you also want to make sure that you have a back because many times we're going to be coming around to the back of the chair and maybe doing some standing poses. And this is where the back of the chair really comes in handy as a stabilizer as we might be moving through certain postures. You also have the option to just use one hand on the back of your chair, but this is going to be a really great prop that you're going to be using as a stabilizer, okay? All right, so let's get back to running down a list very randomly. Let's talk about some other props. Oftentimes, I'm going to be using a block. And what we do is we use a block in between the knees here in this seated position so that we can actually create a full body workout even while seated. This is going to be maybe a little bit more of an advanced practice. If you're brand new to chair yoga, I would recommend not using the block for the first few times. Anytime I introduce a block, it is an option. So you can continue through the movements that I'm doing with a block without the block, and you're still going to get the benefits. You're still going to be able to advance along, okay? You also might have a physical therapy ball, which is really nice. It's got a little bit of give to it, and this really works well as a prop to engage the lower body as well, okay? So you might want to have these on hand. These are very inexpensive. You want to have the lightweight foam blocks. There are some blocks out there that are made of cork or wood, and those are a little bit more appropriate for certain practices on the ground. For this practice in the chair, you really want to make sure that it's the lightweight foam block. And I have seen these on the shelf at TJ Maxx and Home Goods for $5. I've also seen them on the shelves at the local drugstore. So that's an option for you at some point as you progress along in your practice. Okay. So let's talk about a couple of other important things. If you're caring for a body with high blood pressure, you really want to be mindful of the arm movements. You might see me go up overhead and you want to keep your arms at shoulder height. I'm going to introduce a lot of options as we move through our practice, but one important rule of thumb if you're caring for a body with high blood pressure is keeping the arms at shoulder length. You're still going to get nice shoulder movement and benefits from keeping it at this level rather than raising it up over the head. In some instances, we might be going up overhead and moving our thoracic spine. You can, again, just stay at this level and get the same benefits of working our core stabilizers, just keeping the arms at shoulder length, okay? Now, similarly, we'll be doing some forward folds that bring the heart down towards your lap. And you want to make sure that you're staying at this level. Again, if you're caring for a body with high blood pressure, making sure that you really move through the options carefully and see how it feels. You don't want to drop your heart below the hips or your head below the heart. So keeping your level, keeping your upper body at this level, you can still allow the head to dangle and loosen those neck muscles as we may do. But keeping yourself at this first option with your hands on your lap is going to be the best bet. We may move forward with touching the ground, and you really want to be mindful of keeping yourself at this level, okay? All right, let's see. Same thing with your back. This also is important, keeping yourself at this level. If you have any back issues, you really want to be mindful of how that's feeling. And coming halfway to your lap is still going to give you a nice little stretch in the back. It's still going to activate and enhance our breathing practices if you keep yourself at this level. For anyone that might have any issues with your back, okay? All right, so let's move on to talking about the breath. And we're gonna close our orientation video out here with just a nice brief breath practice. So this is another reason why this neutral position is really important. Yoga teaches us that the upper body needs to be upright and attentive, even though you may be softening your muscles around you. And this is the best position for your body to be in to really optimize the breath. The breath to movement alignment is really what sets yoga apart from many other movement practices. We're drawing in more oxygen, we're creating a rhythm, and we're really tuning in. And there's a couple of other important reasons why yoga incorporates or integrates the breath within the practice. Remember, yoga is about harnessing the fluctuations of the mind, calming the system, drawing focus. And so the breath is a really important sensory experience that helps us achieve that goal that yoga aims for, which is harnessing the fluctuations of the mind. You're going to hear me cue a belly breath. So why am I cueing a belly breath when the lungs are up here? That's that sensory experience when you draw an inhale in and we lengthen and deepen the breath. Allowing the expansion of the belly creates that focus, creates that sensory experience to really draw the mind inward, okay? So when you hear me cue that expansion of the belly, we're really drawing focus of the mind. There's another reason why it's important to really lengthen and deepen the breath as much as you can. And that's going to optimize the diaphragm. And this diaphragm, the more movement we can bring in with that deep breath, the more we're going to be moving oxygen out of stale air, out of the lungs. That diaphragm is really going to be maximized and working with the lungs to push that air out biologically. Now, another thing is happening biologically when you're deepening the breath. There's this large nerve, the largest nerve in your body of the nervous system, the vagus nerve, and it runs from the brainstem down to the colon. And when you really deepen and lengthen the breath and maximize the movement of your diaphragm, you're actually interacting with that vagus nerve. You're interacting with your nervous system, and you're signaling the body to move into a relaxation response. This is that flight or flight response that you may have heard about with the nervous system. It signals the body to release tension so that you can move more freely. It calms the mind and it lowers your blood pressure. So when you hear me talk about belly breath, that's a signal to deepen and lengthen your breath as much as you can. And we're going to go through a sample practice before we close out this video, okay? Now, the last thing about the breath that I want to talk through is the more you can inhale through the nose, through the nostrils, you're going to be interacting with your sinuses. And there are certain properties in our sinuses that get released then into the system, into your body system, that are going to vasodilate your arteries and veins, okay? They're going to actually maximize the exchange of oxygen and blood and nutrients out to all of your muscles, all of your cells, so that you're really functioning at an optimal level. So if you can't breathe in through your nose because it's stuffed or whatever, that's perfectly fine. Breathe in through the mouth. Trying to get into that habit of breathing in through the nose is just going to really optimize your practice. And then exhaling to the same length. Inhale to count of 3, exhale to a count of 3 is important. And here's where you have the option to actually open the mouth and exhale gently through maybe pursed lips like you're blowing through a straw is going to help to regulate that breath and keep them at the same level, or help you keep it at a pace where you're counting, okay? So lastly, if you're exhaling through the nose instead of the mouth, we're going to create that ujjayi breath. This is one of the foundational breath practices of yoga. And ujjayi breath is really just a gentle constriction of the throat as you're exhaling. So imagine when you're speaking, you're exhaling. Imagine the ujjayi breath is kind of like the sound of H, okay? Or the sound of the ocean. So you're inhaling through the nose, and then you're exhaling through the throat with just a gentle constriction. Okay, so I think that I've covered all of the basics here. Of course, if you have any questions at all, or if you want to consult your doctor before practicing, that's a really great idea. If there's anyone else that is caring for your body with you, share the link with this video, show them this video, and please let me know if you have any questions along the way. So let's set ourselves up for a little breath practice before I let you go. We're going to practice that 3-part breath. We're going to understand what belly breath means and what ujjayi breath means. So finding that neutral position, even if you're sitting in front of the computer and you're in your office chair, that's perfectly fine. We're not going to be doing any movement. We're just going to be doing a brief breath practice right now. I'm going to give you the first option to place both hands on the belly. Let's practice that belly breath and that ujjayi breathing. So just settling in, and just begin to notice the breath as it passes through the nose. And notice how your body softens and relaxes on the exhale. Just allowing for a couple rounds of breath to ground you in this moment, to tune you into the body. And let's begin to lengthen and deepen our breath now, maybe to a count of 2 to begin, and then a count of 3. And this is where we're going to be drawing that breath down to the belly and moving it back up and out together, okay? So softening everything out with it one exhale so that we can synchronize together. On your next inhale, expand the belly, 1, 2, exhale, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, exhale, 2, 1. Inhale into the breath. 2, exhale, everything softens. 1. Let's expand to 3. Exhaling to synchronize. Inhale to 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, expand belly, 1. Ribs expand, 2. Chest rises, 3. Exhale, everything softens, 2, 1. Inhale, 1 into the belly. 2, expand the ribs. 3, chest rises. Exhale, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, expand the belly, 1. Ribs expand, 2. Chest rises, 3. Exhale, everything softens, 2, 1. On your own, continuing to count, let's focus on that ujjayi breath in the throat. Inhaling belly, 1. Ribs, 2. Chest, 3. As you exhale, make the sound of H. Everything softens. Inhale, belly expands, 1. Ribs, 2. Chest, 3. Exhale, everything softens. Listen to the ocean in your throat. 2 more rounds. Inhale, belly expands, ribs expand, chest. Exhale, sound of H with your throat. Inhale, belly expands, ribs expand, chest. Option as you exhale through pursed lips, like you're blowing through a straw. Let's do one more with that open mouth exhale. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale like you're blowing out a candle. Beautiful. Let's release that count. Hands on your lap. Just allow the breath to return to a natural rhythm. No counting, no lengthening or deepening the breath. Just tuning in for a moment or two and feel what you feel. Feel what you feel in the body. Noticing maybe how you feel now compared to how you felt at the beginning of watching this video. And just noticing the thoughts that are arising in your mind. Can you redirect those thoughts to encourage yourself, to be supportive, to be excited about your next chair yoga visit? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek for what you're in for the rest of this video, and then please return back, enjoy the rest of the practices. I'll be launching new videos every week and building out the library. Thank you so much for practicing with me today and for joining my channel. I hope you found a little bit less stress, a little bit more ease, and a little more curiosity about how yoga can really make a difference in your life. We'll see you next time.